That's Baruch Hashem. Okay, thanks, Simon. Thanks for your efforts, really. We have to announce tonight. So, tonight is Moite Yud Zayin Shvat, early Yud Shvat, Tovshin Ayin, Shir Be'emshech Tofresh Ayin Beis Chelik Aleph, Maima Dibba Hamaschil, Veidaber Lakim Shkol Dvorim Ha'ele Tofresh Ayin Daled, and the Shir is holding on Omud Tov Ayin Vov, Korev Hamayim. So we were Isaac in the Indian that Be'emes the Nivroim the Gabi Oirain Seif Baruch Hu B'Teilim B'Matzias Mamish, and we saw the Lashon in the last class that they Einam B'Matzias Cloud, they really are not there per cloud. And then we saw that L'Chayra we say that they are, because after all Bereis is Bora Elakim and the Elam is Anis Haver, and they have a Matzias like Abi Ayin Sefer. We spoke Be'inyan Ha'oinshim, which are visited by the Torah for those who are over Tzeinai, but that all indicates that there is a Matzias which is Nechshav by Eza Matzias by the Eivishter in the Nivroim. So the beer that the Rebbe was naked here in this whole Maimah, or this whole section, was that was what the Eibishter was nice and lehem mokim. What he is, mitzad HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's a nasina that they should be considered as having a Matzias, Avaloi Shahem B'Prinas Matzias mitzad Atzmo. In other words, it's Tvei Hafochim. Be'emes, they have no Matzias Klau, the B'Teilim L'Gamrei, who nonetheless the Eibishter mitzad B'Chirosei, who he reckons as if they did have a Matzias. That's what we call Noisen Matzias. And so we sort of with the mit, we answer the apparent steal mitzad echad einam b'matzias and mitzad hasheni Bereishis Bora with the Elohim on him. So that the Eivishter wants that they should have a Matzias kaviyohol legabi him beneger le'inyonei Torah, but not that they really have a Matzias cloud. Mitzad echad they're not really there. Mitzad hasheni he wants them to be there, and he gives them the right to have, as it were, a Matzias, of it's purely mitzidoi, of not mitzad Atzmam. And with the mit we answered a few questions that are misayder beneged to the union that we saw. Kolam Rumam be'emes is nimshach el hashofel. That if there are Matzias, then they're not really Shveilim. So we saw that it's not that they are Matzias, it's only that who noisen lehem, Kilo, he permits them to have a certain Matzias, even though be'emes la'amite, they have no Matzias at all. And therefore both things can be true. They're considered being there, but nonetheless the klal and amaruma, nimshach al shofel, still is applied. And that we went on to say that that's also the beer in the brackets. About less than a third of the way down the page. The Olam is b'yidiosom hu sheyesh lehem mokim mitatzmam. The only angle and the only zovius that we can say that Olam have epizeh inim mitadatzmam is taka mitadatzmam. That's to say that in a certain level, which we're calling das tachtoin, there the elements do have a place, but that's only b'yidiosom and haragushosom. Sheish lehem mokim mitadatzmam v'hareihem b'prinas matzias l'daitom. ובהר גשוסו, der in Ayin von Matthias, וזהו בבחינת דאס תחתון, שהוא בהאור השייך אל האילמס, שהיש תפס mokim. That the Eivishter made the ha'ora that you do, the ha'ora which is nimshet derek kol ha'sfiros ta'tzilos, and it's the inim from ha'ora samalchis, nimshet l'biyah l'havetz es ha'yesh mi'ayin. Well, that's a ori yerida b'ha'ora, the ha'ora which is shayak to the whole inim from Eilamus, because it's mahavadim b'bchinas kiru. Since it's shayak to the Eilamus, and the Eivishter wanted that they should have a certain tefisas mokim, but Mitzidoi, that's not the case. Well, that tefisas mokim is really only in the Nivroim. And Mamela does the Taichet. Even the Das Taktin is also a emes, a deya. The Gabi the Nivroim does this emes. Because that is a ha'ora which was brought down Melakus to be shy to them. Kilu mitzidom legabi that ha'ora, then they are tefes mokim. K'mesh kosus mokim acher. Ma'ashenkim b'yediosis mitzidoi, but that's the union of das elyon. Ma'ashen isavu hu rakshu hu is borach neisen lehem mokim. The etzem meaning that they came about, the etzem fact that they're there. Well, that's only an asinus reshut. The be'emes einam b'matzias klau. And that what we say, that das taktin is a emes, and it's also kilo agila elakus. Well, that's already a gila elakus mitzad deniva. Kilo, it's already in the nasinus mokim to the niva. Inside that nasinus mokim, he already feels a certain matzias, and he does have a certain matzias like avidat ha'ora. If we talk mitzidoi, or mitzad amitis yidios is born. Everything is bottled, and not only it's bottled, einam b'matzias klau. So we're talking on a very remarkable level that the emissary yediyah mitzidoi is borach, mitzad atzmusai, and I say we have to understand that it is takasai. Because like he was in Mavaya a few lines earlier, the mitzad atzmusa is borach. You can't really talk about anything. There's not shaykh that in front of the atzmus that there should be anything. Nothing else can possibly who kind of ain oi. There's just nothing. It's not shaykh. And the whole Indian is like how do you call it, a spiel, Gavi the Nivroim, the whole Indian of the how can that even be? How can it be, as it were, something which appears one way, even though it's not true, mitzad amitis atzmusai, but that itself is only an asinus mokim, or that, as it were, he agrees and gives place that should be. I'm come to say that it's a very remarkable thing, that you're not really there. The only fact that you're there because he allows you to be there, or he agrees, or he gives them a place to say that you could be there. And remember that Nasinus Mokim, that's enough for you to have whatever Matzias is necessary for Kavona Aliyana. Overall, you're not there. That the whole Matzias of the autumn is it's an amazing phenomenon. There's something that's not there, which really is there, but it's not. And it's only because he allows it to be there that's why it's there. But that Nasinus Mokim is the rotzen of that Nasinus Mokim is that they should have enough Matzias to be able to be done being Tevla Lahevach Mizeh. In other words, there is a certain nafkamina in the way they behave, even though they don't really exist. That's an amazing, when you think about it, that's an amazing kunz. That's the in Kol Yochel, to say that that's mitzad atzmusay, and that's b'einei atzmusay yisborach. Al pi zeh, yesh lahamtik ma shemavua b'mokim acher b'inyan havaya echad. Milmatele Meile. It's well known that there's the inner from Yichud Hashem, Havaya Echad, Milmatele Meile and Milmaile Lamata. We'll soon have a few more words to say about that. So, Milmata Lamaila, the Hanivroim, Le Achashanis Havu, Harehem Klulim Beatzmusa Yisborach, Mamela Einum Bemachias. Mavu Asham, the Mikol Mochim Nishavu Hanivroim. Nonetheless, they didn't come about. The Hare Shem Elokim Hu Emet. Shem Elokim is a shame of the Eibster, even when it's Emet. Rak, Shashem Elokim Kolo Batzmusay. So, since Shem Elokim is Kolo Batzmusay, then even though Shem Elokim makes them come about, but it doesn't change the fact that they're Kol B'atzmus, because Shem Elokim itself is Kol B'atzmus. And yet, nonetheless, we say that they came about. So, you can't have a cake and eat it too. It can't be both of them true. So, therefore, he says, L'fia now, Yesh Leima, Inanai Skalulas, the Shem Elokim B'atzmus, that there is something, as it were, to be Kol B'atzmus, who rak, who shazeu rak masha ha'erein tzeipa hu neisa mokim ve'elech el hanivroim. It's only what the Eibishter is neisa mokim ve'elech to the nivroim. V'harei Shem Elokim emes b'diyosi yisborach sheish metzias l'nivroim zeu alidei Shem Elokim davke. Stavke through the Indian of the Shem Elokim. Ukenal, the Bechinas Reimim is Atzmi Mamish, Hareina Begeder Nasinas Mokim Klau, even to the Niroim Bederek Nasinas Mokim. Only in these pastures of the Reimim. Only in these pastures of the Reimim, there we give place to the Niroim. Zayin in Shem Elokim, Shahu Ke'inim Bechinas is pastures of Reimim. And since it's only says Pashtas Aroim, then they can give Mokim to the Nivroim, or it's only Ayin for Nasinas, only Ayin for Nasinas Mokim, or not Ayin that they really are there. So what's this whole in that he says here that they're Klulim Be'atzmusay? What's it that it's Klulim Be'atzmusay? And then he says the Shem Elokim is also Kolo Be'atzmusay. And then he says that the Inin, that Hashem Elokim is who rakshes over Mashavein Tzeit Neisem Mochim Erech Al Nivroim. What's the Taitza Kilo that since the Hashem Elokim is Kolo Be'atzmus, therefore there's really no Nivroim, or since the Hashem Elokim is Emes, then there are Nivroim, but the Klulim Be'atzmus and the potato. We keep sort of having our cake and eat it too. And when we say that it's not anything, and he said, no, but Shem Elokim is Emes, B'yadiyotze, which means that something is here happening. So, what is the, how could we, and then he says, no, but yeah, but that's fine. Mamish Batzmusay, Mamish, then you couldn't talk about even the Sinus Mokim. Only in Ha'oram, his pastors of the Reimus Atzmias, they can talk about it in the Sinus Mokim, and that's Shem Elokim, and Shem Elokim is only as a word, Ha'oram Shem Elokim is not Mamish Atzmias, it's Neis and Mokim, Nivroim, and therefore, Hakol Nicha. I'm going to ask myself, how is Hakol Nicha, and it seems that the Iker pitch word is, he said that Lafia now yesh leime in his colors to Shem Elokim ushes Nason Mokim, okay, v'harei Shem Elokim emes. Sheesh metzias b'nivroim, v'zeh alei Shem Elokim davke, and he said that's nicha because the Shem Elokim is these pastors of the Reim. It's like sort of, going back and forth, and still remaining with both things, as it were. So we could maybe suggest that the beer is like this. What do we mean by saying that it's Kolo Batzmusay? What is the pshat? That all the Nivroim are Klulim Batzmusay. And he says the Shem Elokim, which is nice and Mohim, there's also Kolo Batzmusay. Therefore, mitzad one Ayin in the Shem Elokim, everything is bottled, even mitzad the Shem Elokim. Over mitzad the fact that the Eivisha says that Shem Elokim is emes, therefore we have to say that they do have a Ayin of Matthias, but that's also even from the Sinus mocking. So all we can say is, maybe we could say the following. It's from in the Hemshech Ronat, no, in the famous Mama, what's it called? Hechotu. In the Hechotu, I would ever get to the Ayin from Hashem Echad. The Rebbe must be that really all the protim which come out in the Bria, mitzad the Ayin from Shem Elokim, all of them are klulim be'atzmusei. And Adrabah, he says they're all klulim be'atzmusei mitzad the mila of the atzmus, which is pshitas. And the atzmus be'pshitusei is moved or bikol tziyah. I mean, the mitzvah for him with the kasha, the philosophy, I from tachas pshitas, all the protim and all the ischalkas and all the inonim. So for him, for the Rebbe there, on the contrary, davki the pshitas, or that is mechayev all the protim. Yeah? And that's the taste that all the protim are klulim in there. Not that they're klulim by matzias, but they're klulim in their atzmos, because being as he is, pshitas, amiti is, davki pshitas amiti is mechayev that it can give all the details. But davki, because it's mudumiyah, yeah, zeyachol, yeah, Lohotzi and Adrabah, Davki in Tachas Pshitas, all the details which come out about Mitis Ayin from Ein Sof. There's no end to the possibility of the details which can be nimshach from Tachas Pshitas. As they state though. That all the Nivroim, and that's what he says over there, Havaya Echod, is that all the Nivroim are klulim in the etcher. And there's nothing there. Ain't shum דבר. Even though the protim are, but really, they're klulim or betalim in the atzma. So what makes it look as if they are there? What is greater than the fact that they go out of the atzmas? Because they can't get off from the atzmas, that they do appear. I feel al pitera, you know, like the Rambam says, mitas nimtzoyim miamitas simotzoyim. How does that work? How are they nimtzoyim for the mitas? Vigaitas. And that was the Rebbe that the Eivish himself has got a way of doing it. That this Indian from Shem Elokim is that he says that I'm going to give them place. Right? Therefore, the Shem Elokim, is kol batzmusei. The Shem Elokim knows very well that there's nothing, but it obeys the Eivish, and the Eivish says, "Oh yes, alidei you, there's here going to be So if that was a emes in its own right, the Shem Elokim, then there would be a mitzvah be back with the kasha. Obviously, since the Shem Elokim is anyway, kol batzmus is like everything else. It's only that the Eivish says, through you, I'm going to give them a place. And the Shem Elokim becomes like the shliach, as it were, do not alter anything, but make them a mitzvah. And that's very similar to what you see in Tanya, pray call follow, the Alter Rebbe Masber, that really all the Oisias and all the Inyonim are klulim in the Eivish, just like the Oisias are klulim in the Esther Koiches prior to the scholars as Maila, and therefore he says, there's nothing really, ain't Kogera show Matthias to the Nifroim. And then he says, however, at the end of the prayer, Taravaya Elokim Kulei Kulechad. The Shem Elokim and the Shem Havaya are Kulei Chad. And Alidei Din, in Shem Havaya, everything is bottled, it's like nothing happened. Shem Elokim is Legabi you, Al Choponim, Legabi the Nevroim, something does happen. Legabi, that it should look as if something happened. And the amazing thing is that the Eivish plays Ad Kei Kach, what you call the game, that he sees that thing that comes about. Mitzad the Ayin of the Havaya Hu Elohim, he sees that as having come about, as enough to play this unbelievable, as far as he's concerned, game, I don't know how to call it, that there is a Metzias, and I'll be told if it's like this, it's good, if it's like this, that there's enough already through that Inyan for Klapeden Eroim that Shem Elokim does. Aber Shem Elokim is not Cholila Mishana anything, because Avayahu Elokim, they're the same. Yeah, they're the same thing. And the whole key is the Shem Elokim. And that's exactly what he says here. The Mitzadech of the Shem Elokim, it's the Havayahu Elokim. Ain't called Hester, ain't called over Be'emes. No, the Eivester makes a shliach that the Emes Mitzidoi Gam, because it's Alpi Torah. It's got a certain Emes. Yeah? And that's what the Ram says. Ain't Emes Kamitosa is Emes, like his Emes is Nishvahanan. Or Emes can be. Emes יכול להיות. אבל אמס כאמיתוסי, doesn't it? That's what the Rabbi reckons out here. The Shem Elokim is the whole key. Mitzadech, the Shem Elokim is only him. It doesn't really do anything, and yet it does. Yeah, that it's the medium of that giving of the Nesinas Mokim. But that's the medium through which the carrying out of the Nesinas Mokim is done. And therefore, Avayahu Ela. Okay, they're really one and the same Inyan, that's the amazing thing that we're facing here.
Is there then such a thing as real Bachira Chofshis then?
Oh yes, there is. Inside that spiel, you understand? Inside that spiel there is. That's what the Rambam says, that Bechira Chofshis is something we can only take with a munah. We can't really understand it. That's what he says in the famous piece in Hilchos Tshuva, and the Raavad gets very angry. But I mean, that's what the Rambam says. We can't really know how he knows everything, and at the same time, we have Bechira. And that's the Pshat. We don't really have Bechira. It's not really shite that anything should have. But he allows it to be. He gives Nesinas Mokim, Aleph, that you should be there, Beklau, and remember, in the way that he wants. That's the way you are there. And what does that? He does that through the Inyan of the Shem Elokim. The Shem Elokim is like the two sides of the coin. Mitzad echad it's Avayahu Elokim. Mitzad Sheni, it makes Klapi you the whole appearance that there is a Matzid. And therefore he keeps playing with the Shem Elokim. You know, he keeps saying Mitzad echad Shem Elokim is Kol V'yatzva. Shem Elokim Hu Emes B'Yidiosis Hu Amahavas Amatzid. We've seen it in the Lashon the whole time. It keeps going back and forth. Because Shem Elokim is like how do you call it, the carrier of the two sides of the trick. On the one hand, it carries the side of the immediate Ayin, but that's Avayahu Elokim, and the Tzvais like his, we don't see Avayahu Elokim. We just see the infant Elokim, and that's what he said. That in Yediosom, they're right. And that's also a chelik of Torah. The fact that in Yediosom they feel that they are something, that goof is a chelik of Torah. Yeah. Just doesn't happen to be the ultimate story. The ultimate story is that really nothing is there. That's an amazing inyan. So what's going to be Liyosid Lovei? Liyosid Lovei, the mensch will be living ad infinitum with the feeling that Hashem is putting him there every minute. That Hashem is allowing him to be there. And that's going to be the whole Yesh Lema, that's the feeling of the tzaddik. The tzaddik feels that he's not really here, and if he is, it's only because somebody is the whole time allowing him to be here. That's the Shem Elokim. Over who is that really? That's the Atzmas Mami. He's the one who decided on this whole idea that you would be there. And remember, just imagining living that way, that you're really not there, and you just realize that you are here just for the sake of some meaning or other. That's the kavanah of the Nois and Mokim. You know, you live a different way. You have different priorities, as you might call it. You have different inyanim.
May I ask another question?
Huh?
May I ask another question?
Huh?
May I ask another question? What's different from this Kol Bat Musai and Ashlo Nivra Ha'olam Hayahu Shmo Bilvad? That's also Kol Bat Musai.
Yeah, no real difference. On the contrary, it could even be that's even a little bit lower. Because they were already talking about a oil. And here we're talking truly about Tzmusai in the etzem shitas of the Atzmas. You follow? In the etzem shitas of the Atzmas itself, there are all the protim. That's what he says over there. That all the protim are there, but they're not there. They're there mitzad the pshitas. It's not potentiality. But the etzem pshitas itself demands that.
Then how is it
the ribuy and the pshitas are all one.
If we say the ribuy and the pshitas is one inyan, then the ribuy, you can't put a name on it. It's bli agdarot.
Yeah.
So how we might get it is.
So that's what he says. That the Shem Elokim is what makes it into a Hagdorah. Or the Shem Elokim is the same story. It's kol and it knows and it lives the klilas ba'atzmas, and yet it makes you that you are able to feel that you're there.
But if it's kalul ba'atzmus and it's not kalul in that infinite nothingness, then there's a ribuy in atzmus. How do we get away from that?
The ribuy is mitzat pshitas. Not that it's a ribuy in the atzmas.
But then
that kufa is mitzat the etzem kuna of the atzmas atzmo.
So how we magdir Shem Elokim?
That's what I'm saying. That Shem Elokim mitzad the immediacy of the Shem Elokim is just like everything else, including in the atzmas. But Hashem gives it the ability, and that only is called Yochel, that He gives it the ability that it klapei, the Nivroim, klapei, downwards, it makes things look as if they're material. And therefore the Ikar, what you might call the Ikar Shleimus of Elokus, is Takid the Shem Elokim. I mean, as I can tell you, the real trick of Elokus is the Shem Elokim, not the Shem Elokim. Now remember, that's what we're going to see in, I don't know if we're going to see it so quickly, but that's what comes out later in the Hemshah, and it's put down that that's why we mention the Shem Elokim in very key places. For example, the whole Bria, we just say Varesh Boro Elokim. You don't see the Shem Elokim until after the whole Inyan, and then by Matan Torah, Vayidave Elokim as Kol Advarim. We see that the Ikka is the Shem Elokim. So, like where do you have it in at the beginning of this week's Pasha? Yeah, it's quite noticeable. Vayishma Yisrei is Kol Masha Osa Elokim LeMoshe UleYisrael Amai Shehoitzi Hashem es Yisrael Mitzrayim. It starts with Kol Masha Osa Elokim LeMoshe UleYisrael Shehoitzi Yisrael Mimit Shehoitzi Hashem. We see first of all the Shem Elokim is mentioned, and then later killed the Shem Elokim. But say Baba Havi Mekemes. And then there's a famous beer that Adar Hashem Elokim is Batika. There's a Havaya Hu Elokim is sometimes a pshat that the Shem Havaya is only Hashem Elokim, but they come to do it. In Nimsalov he said that Elokim sometimes is a very, very high madrega, just in Shemus or Kabbalah. It can be even higher than all the other Shemus. The Simon that Inif and Elokim, which is Eilami, both of those words imply Matthias. Eila implies something you can point at, and me is a Matthias. Me is Bina already. That's Elokim. And that's a pillar. On the one hand, Nimta that the Amitis Hayechoilas, the Atzmas Tutzach on, as you might say, and is Mishkala Alidei the Shem Elokim. More than the Shem Vayah or any of the other aspects of Elokus. As they come to it.
I remember in Tanya it says that a tzaddik he feels that his Metzius is his Nefesh Elokis.
His what?
That his whole Metzius is his Nefesh Elokis.
He promises his Nefesh?
His whole Metzius is his
Nefesh
Elokis.
That's his taking Perikoptes. Yeah.
So he really is a Metzius, the tzaddik.
Yeah, that's what I said. A tzaddik. Taki knows. A tzaddik knows that he's really not a Matthias Klal.
That he is a Matthias.
And he's called in the Atzmas, but he knows that if he is up as a Matthias, then it's only because he wants him to be.
But a Nefesh Elokis is part of the Atzmos.
Yes, Ein Chaname. But nonetheless, the Nefesh Elokis comes down into the world in such a way that the tzaddik knows very well that Epistafat, and therefore that's what he brings in Perikoptes. He brings from Hillel.
Yeah.
Hillel, on the one hand, Hillel said that he doesn't need to eat. Well, what's he going to eat? He's taking in the earth and he's feeding the Oni. The Medrash tells the whole story that they heard about this Oni. They thought, wow, there must be Epsa Oni. They come testing by Hillel, quite often he's there, who's this on him? And they all peep through the keyholes, the story there. They want to see who's this on him. And they just saw the Hillel sit down and his rebbe gave him a piece of bread. That was cute. They got him some miles. Who is he on him? Yeah. So later it became this guy that he met that he was feeding the goof. And said he was, that Hillel knew that there was such an Ayin that he had to be poiled with Ayin. But he knew that was only a necessity to do. His highest and his argosha was that he's just here only because he was to brought him here, you understand? And not just brought him, but made the whole Ayin. But even because once you're there, you got to play in the game. Once you're there, you got to play the game. And that's the whole bechira of the tzaddik. You follow? He knows that Bemis it's all nothing. And he's only here because Mitzvah still. But he knows that there's such a thing that you got to play the game. And that's for him the biggest trial of a tzaddik. That he's got to come out of that living that he's only here just because he had to be still to him. But he can say, well, he put me here, let me just enjoy him and myself. And that's it. No, he's got to feed that on here. He has to feed that on here. It doesn't give mess. Means that he should look after the world. And Hillel also gave himself up to the Talmidim and the whole thing. And he was Machayev Aniyim, the Gemara says. He never had very much, and that was a big chiyuv to everybody to learn. That you gotta get, how do you call it? You gotta put your shoulder to the wheel when they're going to do it. That's the whole Fakir. Then we can say that's the emes and the soyan of the tzaddik. That's his emes, the trial. Is he going to really take the trick and play the trick and come into the world and do something, even though he knows it's not a reality, but he knows that the Eivishter wants it. We should do something within the realms of the rules of the game of that reality. Understands? That's a different story. Ken, mate.
One more. Why then is it called Das Tachton? It's a funny thing to call it. Das.
No, you see, the Inifin, Das, you mean why Das being a pneumius and a kashas? You mean why do we give it the name of an opinion? Because it's not really an opinion. Well, it is. And that's the whole point. That since the Eivshah gave Mokim to these Inyanim, and he gave Mokim to the point that he said, Bereshis Boro, that there is a Matthias, a Brias, Inifin that there is a Matthias, and it's even very interesting that in Iyov over there it's written, Vayaged lecha talum es chokma, Kiflaim letushia, both of them it was David and the Matzudas Tzion, learn over there that the word tushia is from Rosh and Yesh. That there is a term, it's a reality, and you got to reckon with it. You can't just say, talum es chokma, and a clear roof in face for us, and all the rest of the world can dance. Now you have to know that Kiflaim, Latushia, that the Torah really is there, that came down into the world, and you got to do it with the world. As they learn in Meforshim. It comes out of his here that the Das Taktain is, after they've already given that Mokim, they are right in the sense that they are being allowed to have that feeling, and Lefizeh, there's Klolei HaMishchach. That's what we pointed out to Benti. Lefizeh, there's Klolei HaMishchach. But Ad Kedika, that you can come along and say that the Ika Aveda is Taka that bittul, because you're locked up in another situation, and you're put in a Matzav. The biggest trick is to be in that Matzav, and from this way, you go out of it. That's the biggest trick. So great is the trick.
By saying Das Elyon and Das Tachton, we say they're both valid. They have.
Yeah, they're both real, and they're both mitzad elakus. It's not just that that's a tourist of the Tachton we call it Das. No, the Eibishter made that Das also. Kel deyois avaya at the Shema. But he didn't really. It's all like it's a trick. Legavi the Makablim. And the Makablim themselves are the trick. It's an amazing idea. Mom is mind-boggling. Those are the Indian of Yichud, of Shema Yisrael, of Ayel Elokena, of Ayachod Milmatala, Mila. That's the way you are supposed to really understand it. You understand? That's the way you're really supposed to understand. So he said, you can now the beginners Raymond was Atzmi Mamish, Harayainu begerin Nasinus Mokim Klau. Rak Bispashtus Raymond. Vezain in Shemelakim, Shu Ki Ine beginners is Pashtus Raymond, like we pointed out before. That is Pashtus Raymond is Mamish Kain, the is Pashtus Atzmi, but he's only a Ha'ora, therefore there can be in him a certain giving of Rishus to the Matthias of the Nevroim, even though he, even in these pastors, we are there saying they call Matthias Klau. Why much because of Mokimacha being an Amelech HaKodesh, Amelech HaMishpat. But that's in some of our, about halfway through the Hemshah, there's a beer in there, that Melech HaKodesh, or that's the Amitis Areimim, the Areimus Atzmias, Shemudel Legamri Mikol Shaychas al Koldover. That's what we mean, that the Aliyah Roshon is a fila in the Madrega from Melech HaKodesh. And then there's a Melech HaMishpat, or that's the Ha'ora of the Atzmias, the Areimus Atzmias, Habor, and it's mashma over there that the Emes of Pshat in a Melech HaMishpat is a fila outside after the Tzimtzum, it's Kilo Ori, the Hashor Bekoyach, and the Sinus Mokim Elinina, Velames. Al Kaponim, it's the Ha'ora from the Ha'ora Atzmius of the Reimamas, which is already nice and Mokim Le'inyan Velames. So over there, the Rebbe doesn't go into the whole Klolis, Dikabira, everything is really Kolov and Atzmius. Over there is Machalik between the two Inyonim. Yeah. Over here, we see that really the two Inyonim are just two different Oifanim of the Bittul Amiti. Two different, as it were, states in the Gila of the Bittul Amiti. Arihu Noisim Mokim Ve'erat Lene Nevroim. He says, who Kolo Bi'atzmusay? The truth of the matter is that Shem Elokim is also Kolo Bi'atzmusay. He says, who Rak Mashu, who is Barach? Noisen Lohem Mokim. Lo Yesh Lohem Matthias Mitadatzmam. The Mitadatzmam ain't in Beginner's Matthias Klau. Now, we keep coming back to the same thing. If the Shem Elokim is the whole trick. He knows the Emes, and he's part of that whole Emes, and yet he causes you to feel and to be aware that you're there, even though you're only there mitzad the Rishus of the Atzman. It seemed to me, just maybe that's one of the reasons that the famous Lashon in the Zohar Kodesh, where the Zohar Kodesh begins, that begins with Bereish Hulman, the Malka, Golif Khalifa, but Tehiru Eloah. So it's put down, the word Hulmanas means Rishus. Rishus. In other words, that's the Indian of the Rotzen. The Rotzen itself is a Rishus. It's purely Mitzidoy. There ain't called Indian that is really, he needs anything, and therefore he can't call it Amos a Rotzen. Or Mitzad Sheni, it is a form of a Rotzen. The Ayin, it's like this unimaginable decision, mamish go in the Atzman, go to use the expression, that there should be a giving a place to something, and therefore it's called Hulmanas, not Rotz. Now, here we go, another piece. All this is in the Yichud Milmata Lamaila. This is all how the Nibra goes back through everything, and he comes to know that even the Das Taktin is not really the ultimate story. However, what about the Yichud Milmaila Mata, the way the Eibishter sees it? He said, Hu Shahavaya Hu Elokim. Yeah, but he said this is a slightly different idea. That was also Havaya Hu Elokim. Over here, that Havaya Hu Elokim, V'hainu Shemetzias Aniroim Hu Shahein Elokus. Havaya Elokim is another idea. Yeah, Havaya Hu Elokim, meaning the picture says Havaya was Elokus. Even when the Shem Havaya, when the Shem Elokim has made you all the Nivroim, they're not a separate entity that's really bottled and not really there. They are really there, but they're Elokus. That's absolutely amazing. That's really mind-boggling. And he said, come to it, pink to see the Abishtas there, they're also there. Ubiyichud milmata lamaila hu she'eren tzayif nation mokim. Shazo be'emes beli mokim ubeli matzias over gives. Over here it's not giving anything mokim. He's just talking his own self out to you. The way everything is cold in the atzmas, it's all mamish elikuz. That's the way it becomes. Havaya hu lakim mamish, they're one and the same thing. Not that they're ultimately klulim zeh v'zeh, no, they're mamish one and the same thing. In other words, that's the way it is. In the atzmas, that's the way it comes out. But how can that be? I mean, in the atzmas, just the atzmas. And here they become mamish an entity, and you say, no, that entity is elikud. So that comes out another idea. That's another absolutely mind-boggling idea. That Pintas even the Yeshua Amiti, the Yeshua Amiti, he is the only emissary Yesh, and he's an emissary Yesh. That's what the Nivra is. The Nivra is in effect the Yeshua Amiti. And that's the Rebbe brings in his famous lesson in many of the Mamorim, that in the Nivra Spiegel Tzachop, the Yeshua Amiti. There anyway, he's the Yeshua Amiti with all the what you might call Toyarim or Inonim, which are Tolui in that music, the Yeshua Amiti, they're in the Yeshua Nivra. They're like a Gilu, but they're Mamash Elikud. And that's Yesh Lema, the Chiddush, what will be Leosit Lovay. That not only just that you realize that you're there because he makes you be there or allows you to be there, but you're there because your mom is him. And your mom is Elikus, Piktasivy, he's Elikus, Piktasivy, everything is in that atzmas. That's the way it is now. And Avaya Elokim and the Pshat, their mom is the same thing. And Elokim is just bringing out the Elikus into a more specific statement than what it is in its own self. That's an amazing idea. And that's the two inyanim what the Friedrich Rebbe brings in the Likutei Diburim in a couple of places, that he says that there's a yichud of Havaya Echad Milmata Lamaila and a yichud of Milmaila Lamata, and he said that's the two Lashenes. Air is Alts and Alts is Air. In other words, he is everything and everything is him, or everything is him and he is everything. Right? So in one place over there he says that's the difference between Chochmah and Bina. He says different Lashenas when I get to it, but he says that those are two Eifanim in the Yichud Amiti of Havaya Echad. So we could suggest that Alts is air, or that's the first thing that we've been learning here, which is also a form of Havaya Elokim. It's not the Yuftu of this Havaya Elokim. And that's the really everything is Kolo B'Yatzmos, but the Shem Elokim makes it as if you're meant to be there in the form of a Matthias, you're not the Matthias Mamish of Elikus, but you're certainly not a Nifrod from Elikus, you're Batil and you're not there, as it were. Atalo Sham. That Alts is there. Everything really goes back into how it was. But you're starting off with the Alts and you're going back into to where it really belongs. How are you calling yourself Alts? Because the Shem Elokim makes it appear that way. Although that doesn't disturb the fact that the Shem Elokim is also the Emes. And the second way is that air is Alts. He just comes down and makes the Alts exactly the way he is. And therefore everything is just him. Elikut. And that's Liyesh Lema, that's the Emes and Gilui of Leosid. And we're just coming from Kriyas Yamsuf. There's a man from the Mittler Rebbe. I once saw it. The Mittler Rebbe has got a big long man called Boikei Ayam, where we stayed. Boikei Ayam, Moshe. It's one of the psukim when you get to Kriyas Yamsuf. And he's mavad the whole Inyan from Kriyas Yamsuf, and he gets under this whole Inyan that there's a yichud Milmaila Lamata and there's a yichud Milmata Lamaila, and he says that yichud Milmaila Lamata is a Hakoil, who is Bach, and he says that means that really there's no reason to say that the Nivra is not there. Oh yes, he is. He's there with the Emes HaKoyach of the Yesh, and he's going to really, that's the way, Liyasid Lohe, that's the way we're going to see it. It's going to be like that, and with the Teich of a Matziyah. And he said that's what happened by Kriyas Yamsuf. And then he learns into Kriyas Yamsuf himself, or some Hoinen, that he learns that that's what happened by Kriyas Yamsuf. That had to be, because that's ultimately the ultimate shlemus of Matan Torah, is to bring that about. That's what he's going to say here. And that's going to be Be'emes Begila Liasid, and that was there temporarily by Kriyas. Yeah, by Kriyas Yamsuf. Yeah. How's it written? Kiliel Chazdei, wie steht dort? Bekerm Lifnei Mein. I can't remember the pasuk. He's got a pasuk to Kiliel Chazdei. I don't remember. But one of the psukim about Kriyas Yamsuf. And with that, he's masked with the whole Indian. And so I remember shortly after I learned that Maimah, it occurred to me, and somebody came up and asked me Ashara, and I remember I got talking about it, and it seemed that maybe it's not a bad it's not a bad suggestion, Kaviyahol, and that is that in Shara Yichud, the Alter Rebbe says that if you were to ever see the Matthias, the deliverer of Be'emes, you would see how he is. לא היה רואה גשמיוס גשמיוס כלל, כי אם הדבר הוויה. אבל it's a bit anders. You look at it, you see how it's not really there, and all you see is the davar havaya, but the near itself is not really there. It's kolo in the. Yesh level yosid. There's going to be an even higher Indian than that, and that you're going to see the nivra, and he's going to be tweaker from Matthias because he's going to be Mamshel Kut. And that was killed in this Galilee, Liosid, Bekriyas Yamsuf, Be'ifin Zmani, and Yesh Leimer, that's the Emes Yichud of Matan Torah, ultimately, through the Aveda von Yidden Torah, to bring about Edify. The whole union was that immediately after Matan Torah, Yidden was supposed to go into Eretz Yisrael. So that was the whole union, and to build the base on it. Everything be just Nitzchiyas with the Gilei Amiti of Matthias Amiti. Hulavadeu. That was the whole Kavanah. I said, we can't. No, I must have missed it. When I read the Pasha Maraglim and a few of these things nowadays, I can't take it. I sit there. It's Mamsha Pachat. You see the with gehat alles, your mamish had it in your fingers. Everyone's going to do it so with Moshe Rabbeinu, and the Mikdash would have been, Mikdash Hashem, Adle, maybe we understand,
Isn't that the same as the Chet Eitz Hadas, the same thing?
Yeah, it's very similar. It's very hard to understand. And we have to say that Sokosov, that was the Rotten, Kachu Rata. And that's what the Rebbe said. Okay, you, that's the way you wanted the Rebbe to. No, but once I mean, it's at you, everything is fine. It's at you. Well, it wasn't. It was it's an indigo. What about those actually yesh with the what are they supposed to do? And that's what the Rebbe said. Ad Moshe.
That's the mile then of this generation, that we don't have Hasoga and we don't have Re'iyah. The mile, the Rebbe says, the mile of this generation, because of the Mashiach, is there's no Hasoga, there's no Re'iyah Selakus. And we made it, we can't have a toes, we're just marching up,
Yeah, but we got to show you Ad Moshe.
It's Sivas Hashem,
you're right in a way. Of Sokosov. There's a limit to everything, and that's the Rebbe, it's unbelievable. It's all semis, the all inyonim, it's horrific. It's at you, everything is fine there, all the rest of the house, and the Kinder sitzen in Golos, it's a real hard Masa. That's what I'm Shapele. And does it in the Osid. I mean, we have no idea what we're reading here. I mean, this is it's Kilela Kus Mamish, the way that Rebbe builds these inyonim one on top of the other, and it just keeps flowing one drush out. I mean, it really is. It's mind-boggling. And the Rebbe, Melech HaMashiach, took all these inyanim and built them into this amazing, series of ordered, how do you call it, activity, a way of facing it all. Mitzat the Nimtzoim, B'doyer Zeh, it's unbelievable. Mind-boggling. Well, all right, let's just finish the Maimon. And it's interesting that this pasuk in this week's parsha, Yisrael, also the beginning of the next one. Al Pizeh, Yuvan, Mashkos, Yidab Elokim is called Advorima. You can't get away from the guys. That's a pasuk in this week's parsha. Isn't that amazing? And we've met with this several times. Whenever we come to a certain point, we always bang into the parsha of Shavuot to the Mayonta that happens to be going or something. Tehine, Gilui B'chinas Das Elyon, Hu Shenish Chadish B'matan Torah. Gilui Das Elyon. Das Elyon was always there. But Gilui Das Elyon, Dare Ad Matan Torah, Hoyo Aveda B'chinas Das Tachtin. Like I made you koso, Vo'ero, Chulu, Kel Shaddai, Ushmiavai Eloinoi Daiti Lo him. I didn't make it known to them, even though it was there. The famous spirit Shindalad Yud also is calling in itself a certain Indian of Avaya. Rashi says, Lo nikati lohem b'midas amitius shali, with my emsa amitius, the emsa in of Hashem Avaya, who in the emes Havaya liyoi lo, is out. Kommt up in the world, but in das Edien, she adeha amitius. Now what does it mean? We said that the other one's also a meteor, but this is a meteor sheba, a meteor. That's what the Rambam refers to as a meteor tzimotza. Because when Moshe Rabbeinu gave over the whole into the Eden of the Geula, he met Matan Torah. It was only a beginning to go to Matan Torah. Geula b'chinas das Elyon. והנה בדאס עליין, הגם שזהו גילי שם הוויה, הרי יש בזה גם כן שם אלוקים. You can't possibly say there's not. רק שזהו משהו אין סייף נייסן מוקים. The Shem Elokim is that medium through which the Abish expresses his giving the place to the Nivroim. וזהו המitius hayichud הוויה echad. Well, this is the emphasis. Now that lesson didn't quite occur in the moment. You see here, this is the way the Friedrich Rebbe takes it out. That's the kavanah. This is a mitius ayichud davaya echad sha'inam is nivro. You can't say they didn't come about. Mikol mochim harehim b'chinas echad lefi shehem klulim bi'atzmusay u'betelim amoyu. The klulim bi'atzmusay is barak, because the Shem Elokim is also klulim. It's mamish kolobias. Say, like the Rebbe Mara says, the eye of love him in a din liyes kenidin. It can't really be different than what the Shem Elokim itself is. And if he said they really betailim when you got him in the atzmas. So shenema b'matan Torah v'yidab Elokim. Umikol mokim hoyegili eirin seif mamish lamata v'yoma anoichi ha. I picked this at the beginning of the parsha. Kol asher so Elokim l'moisher Yisrael ki hoitzi Hashem Yisrael mitzrayim. That the Elokim is really the Ein of Hashem. What Lefi Zelachor should say, that Elokim hu Havaya. Well, say Nachanami, in a way that's true. Because mitzad this way of looking at it, or mitzad the Amiti stars, we see the emerson of Maila Lamata, it's Havaya Elokim. ושזה נאמר מתן תורה וידע אלוקים מכל מוחים היה גילוי אין סעיף ממש למטה ביום האנוכי הוויה גילוי שם הוויה ממש שם אלוקים אינו מסתיר ומיה הגילוי דאין אין סעיף. You know, see in the Kitzah, there's a certain sort of like sikum of the Inyonim. והשם אלוקים הוא כולו בעצמו, דהיינו שזרק משהו אין סעיף נייסן לא הם מוקים וערך ובאמס מצד עצמם אין להם שום מוחים כלל. והוא אמיתיס הייחוד ההוויה אחד. Das ist die emes ייחוד ההוויה אחד מלמטה למעלה. For good measure, he put in brackets, there's noch ein in die. אבל כפונים מצד הערבי, das ist die mitis in von Hashem אחד. Now we understand why we say Hashem echad and not Hashem Yachid, because Hashem Yachid means that there's nothing. It's only Him. But that's true in a way. Hashem Echad is the pshat that really the things do have a certain thing. They are in a certain way there. Why are they in a certain way there? Because He puts them there. He allows them to be there. And the beetle that they go back into is the immediate beetle. Or since they come through the fact that they are, as it were, there, then it's Echad and not Yochid. Good. All right, guys. Also der Rebste Hohen ist Tziochi, Tziechot, is all schön sein. All schön sein. I remember somebody asked me, what do you say, what's the Ayin Beis? I said, really, the Ayin Beis is a description of how things are going to be the Yossi. When you look carefully in almost all the Maimorim, you can see that there's always a sort of a certain level which just leaves everything completely, it's not really what you think klal. So when Admos, but that's the Emes of Liossi. Now, that's how it is of the Gilui, and that's what Matan Torah was, the Gilui. And the Liossi law will be the Gilui Odioter. It's taken from me out Mamish. Good. Ja, die meen om alleen maar op een halve Mashiach leren boer.
Ja, die meen maar op een halve Mashiach leren boer.
Ja, die meen om alleen maar op een halve Mashiach leren boer.
Ja, die meen maar op een halve Mashiach leren boer.
Ja, die meen om alleen maar op een halve Mashiach leren boer.
Ad Masai.
Ad Masai.
Ad Masai.
Ad Masai.
Ad Masai.
Ad Masai. Good. Okay, guys, have a good evening. And the main thing is, when I say have a good evening, it wasn't a tight, we need a good morning, to go to the Erev, the night is special.